What's up, guys? It's Celeste, and my summer of monarchs is continuing to stress me out a whole lot. I thought that I would be through the stressful part once my huge group of caterpillars went into chrysalis, but unfortunately, a lot of them have had issues when they closed, and so I've had to spend a lot of time sort of babysitting them and, like, as they emerge from the chrysalis, like, keeping an eye on them and giving them help when needed, and then some of them didn't make it, and so it's just been really stressful this week. But I finally, I know I keep saying this, like, this is what's driving me crazy. I really think that I'm getting to the end here because I had 9 monarchs, not monarch caterpillars after that I found outside. And so I've been taking care of those. 9 is much more manageable than like 200 or whatever it was that I had before. And the last one of those is in chrysalis now, so I have no caterpillars outside. I have cut back all my milkweed so that no new eggs will be laid or anything, because I really need a break from this. I need to, first of all, get my life back. And second of all, I really need to be working on my DragonCon costumes. So I need to just like end this whole caterpillar thing for the summer. I do still have a bunch of swallowtail caterpillars, but they are a lot less work to take care of, and I don't know, they're just not as overwhelming. So yeah, so that's been my week. So I'm just so stressed out about all this caterpillar stuff, and it's just been so exhausting taking care of them and everything. But I hopefully am almost completely done with them for the summer, because I just can't do this forever. So anyway, so that's been my big stressor and my big time suck of the last week. I also have some really cool news, which is that I was able to be part of a really awesome project called Transilient, which is a traveling interview and photography project that it's one of those things where they like profile a different person each time and basically just like do an interview, and then they have like a photo that goes with it, like kind of like Humans of New York, that kind of thing, but this is a traveling thing, and it's all about trans people, trans and gender nonconforming people. So I got to be featured on that, which was really cool. We met up at Lake Eola Park in Orlando. It's a really beautiful park, and so we went there and I got to talk to them, and it was just a really cool experience, and I was like sort of nervous about it, but they really put me at ease, and they are all amazing people. So shout out to Basil, Jonah, and Salim, who did a fantastic job of making me feel at ease and everything. And definitely go check out this project, because they're continuing to travel around. So you can check their schedule and find out if they're going to be near you and see if you can get in on it as well. But also just to see all these amazing trans people that they are profiling, because there are some just really interesting people and a lot of cool perspectives and different kinds of things that people are into. So definitely check that out. So one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is pronouns, and like the pronouns that I use and whether or not I would ever want to change them and why I would or wouldn't want to. This has been something that I've kind of been thinking about for a while, but I've really been thinking about it a lot lately. So I thought I would kind of think out loud about it and just kind of share with you guys what I've been thinking about. So one of the things that's been kind of challenging for me with regard to like my exploration of both my gender and my sexuality has been like parsing out the difference between like the things that I actually personally feel or want or value from the things that society has taught me that I should want or feel or value. So like in my video about being aromantic, I talked about that I have when I read things or watch things or whatever that has like romance in it, that sometimes I feel like that is something that I want. But then, like, sometimes I think, like, that I don't want it. And I feel like I don't really want it in my real life. But because it's this thing that's kind of, like, glorified and, like, not, like, no pun intended, but romanticized in our society and everything, and it is like set up to be this thing that I should want, that has made it kind of difficult for me to separate out like what I actually want from what I have been told that I should want, because it's not always that easy. It's not always like you can just say like, oh, well, that's just what society told me, so I'm just going to do what I actually want. Like sometimes it is that obvious, but with a lot of things, it's just so ingrained in us from such a young age that it can be really difficult to figure out what are your own thoughts and what are thoughts that have been sort of planted for you, because, I mean, all your thoughts are to some degree influenced by the things around you and the other interactions you have and the people that you interact with and the things that you read and the things that you hear and, you know, everything. So you don't live in a vacuum. So it can be kind of difficult sometimes to figure out like what your true feelings are. Like not true meaning like that they do exist in a vacuum or necessarily, but like that they are what really serves who you are, who you want to be, what makes you feel comfortable in your like life as it is. So for something to be true for you, it doesn't necessarily mean that it would be true like no matter what else had happened in your life. I mean, there are things like that, but I think a lot of other things like can be true for you based on who you are right now, like who you are as a person, how your life is, and things like that. So that can be kind of hard to separate things out. And so pronouns are something like that for me. But what's kind of conflicting about it is that it's kind of like that from multiple sides. So I currently use she, her pronouns, which are what I was assigned at birth. I was assigned female at birth, so that's what I was referred to. That's what I was taught I should use for myself, and so on and so forth. So, like, sometimes I question whether I use she, her because it really feels right for me, or if it's because that's just what I'm used to, or if it's because I'm afraid that if I ask people to use something else that they won't, and then I will then I'll feel misgendered. Like right now, if people call me she, then like I didn't ask them to do anything different, so they're not misgendering me by calling me she. If I ask them to use they, them to refer to me, and they use she, her, then I'll feel like that they're not respecting me, that they're misgendering me because they're not using what I asked them to use for me. So there definitely is an aspect of that. Like I definitely feel like there is a part where I'm like afraid that if I do that, then I'm putting myself in a position of being hurt and being misgendered and being made to feel invisible or not seen for who I actually am or whatever. So that's like the side coming from like the cis side, I guess. Like that's like me maybe trying to like cater to the cis side where it's like, well, that's what people are going to use she, her, so I might as well just go with that instead of like asking them to put themselves out for me. But then there's the other side, which is like, do I actually want to use they, them? Like, does they, them actually feel right to me? Or is it that I feel like I should use they, them because I'm non-binary? I don't know. Like, there is a part of me that kind of feels that way because they, them specifically is not something that like really speaks to me, and neither do any of the other gender neutral pronouns. It's not like I hear them and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like me. It's more that using they, them, or people using they, them to describe me would make me feel affirmed. It would make me feel like they see me as non-binary. It's not like they see me as female. Right now, even though I'm doing this whole thing, like I said, where like I'm protecting myself by not asking people to use anything different, at the same time, in the back of my mind, I still always feel like if people are using she, her for me, I don't know whether they actually see me as non-binary. I don't know if they actually are like, they see me as non-binary, but they use she, her because that's what I asked them to use, which would be fine. Or if they use she, her because they see me as female. And right now I'm talking about people who like know that I'm non-binary. Obviously people, strangers out in like public or whatever, are not going to know I'm non-binary. So I would expect them to use she, her for me right now because I appear female. And it's not like I always get read as female. So that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about people who know that I'm non-binary. So I do kind of have this like fear in the back of my mind that people I know who know I'm non-binary, or who I've told I'm non-binary, they like actually think that I'm like actually female, and I don't know, like it's this whole kind of like paranoia thing that I have. But so if I asked people to use they them and they actually did that, then I would feel like, okay, they don't see me as female, they see me as non-binary, they're using the proper pronouns, everything's great. So I mean that is definitely like something that I would like if that happened. But it's not because she, her doesn't feel right to me. It's because being seen as female doesn't feel right to me. And I don't know, I feel like that's a distinction that maybe I haven't seen a whole lot of people talk about, because most of the time that I've seen people talk about dysphoria, like social dysphoria around pronouns, it's usually the fact that they don't feel connected to the pronouns that they were assigned at birth. And it's not like I hear she, her, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally me. It's just that that's what I'm used to. And I don't think of it as something that is disconnected from me. It's like, that's just always what was used for me, so I associate it with me. I know that she, her are pronouns that are assigned to females in our society, but at the same time, it's like, those were used for me, so I don't know, like, I don't know if this really makes sense, but like, it's kind of like with my name. Like, if I had a very common female name, I might feel differently, but the way that I learned my name, the way that I learned the name Celeste was in association with me. So, like, I am Celeste. Like, when I think of Celeste, I think of me. Like, I think of, like, what I am, which is not female. So that's why I don't really think of it as like a feminine name, even though it is typically a female name. So it's kind of like that with she, her. Like, I don't hear she, her and feel like obviously if somebody is referred to as she or her, like, I am typically going to think that they identify as female. So it's not like I see it as neutral for everybody else, but it's like for me, I don't really see it as like, I don't know, like, it's just internally is what I'm talking about. Like, I don't feel like a disconnect from it, because I didn't, like, it's not like I grew up feeling like, I didn't really grow up feeling like I had dysphoria. I didn't feel like I wanted to be a boy, at least not all the time. I did sometimes, but it's not like I grew up feeling like it was wrong for me to be a girl. It wasn't until I got older that I started to feel this kind of like disconnect from what was expected of me and what was like, I don't know. That could be a whole other video, which it probably will be at some point. But I don't know, I'm getting kind of rambly as usual, but I think this is maybe making sense to you guys, hopefully. You can let me know if it doesn't, but I feel like my desire to use they, them would not be because I don't like she, her. It would be because I don't like being seen as female. So that would be the benefit to using they, them. But I guess I just feel kind of this pressure, not an overt pressure. It's not like anybody has ever actually said this to me or made me feel this way, like, overtly. But I guess from, like, the trans non-binary side, I do kind of feel a little bit like that there's an expectation, I guess, that if I'm non-binary, that I should be using they, them pronouns or some other gender-neutral pronoun. But like I said, it's not like it only feels like a pressure. It's not like I just feel like maybe I should be doing that. It's that I don't know, like, what really would feel the best to me. I mean, I do know what would feel the best. The best to me would be if I could use they, them, everybody would use they, them, and I never would get misgendered and everything would be great. But that's not going to happen, so I guess that's why I just don't really know exactly what would feel best for me right now, because I don't want to start asking people to use they, them, and then, like, it not happen most of the time, because, I mean, for one thing, like, I am not out to absolutely everybody in my life. Like, Jason's family doesn't know that I'm non-binary, so like, let's say he started using they them for me in like everyday life, he still, in referring to me to them, would be using she her, because otherwise they would get confused. They wouldn't know what he was even talking about. So like for him to have to switch back and forth and everything, I just feel like it would be really confusing for everybody. And I don't know, like this is part of what I feel like I should be able to ask for what makes me feel comfortable. But at the same time, like, is it really realistic to ask for that, to expect everybody to be able to, I don't know, like, I'm not saying it's not fair for me to do it. Like, it is fair. I should be able to get what makes me feel comfortable. Like, I should be able to request that people respect me or whatever. It's not like that's not fair. It's just I don't know that it's really realistic, and that's kind of what I don't know. I just don't want to put myself in a position where I'm going to end up feeling like I have made things harder for myself by doing that. But that's pretty much how I felt before I came out. That's pretty much why I didn't come out, because I was afraid and because I felt like, yeah, this sucks being in the closet and feeling like my entire life is a lie and not talking about this huge aspect of my personality and my life to anybody, and like allowing people to assume things for the sake of avoiding conflict or avoiding pain or whatever. But like, at least I avoid that stuff, like, but that obviously didn't actually work. So that's why, like, right now I'm kind of feeling like maybe I'm just like overthinking this. Like, maybe I should just ask people to use they them. I really don't know. I feel like it would be really cool if I could have like a part of my life where everybody used they them, so that I could just like see what it felt like. But I don't really know how to do that, because I don't really have that many parts of my life, especially not in physical space, like not online, which I think would be the best place to do it, because I would want to know what it feels like to actually hear it instead of just seeing it written. But I just don't know how to do that. Also, I had a dream like last week where I don't really know what the dream was about or like what the circumstances of this were, but in the dream I was referred to as they them, and it made me really happy. And like before I had that dream, like I still don't, like I said, I still don't feel like a huge connection to they them. But when I had that dream, like that made me feel a lot more connected to it. It made me feel like, oh, okay, that would feel really good. That would feel really cool to be referred to as they them and like to be seen as non-binary. That would be really awesome. So that dream did actually have a big effect on me. But I don't know. I just feel so conflicted about this, and I do kind of feel like I'm like heading more toward eventually using they them pronouns, but I just don't know that it feels entirely practical to me right now, or that I don't know that I feel like it's necessarily the right time, but I just don't know. Like I just feel kind of conflicted about it. But those are just kind of my thoughts on it at this point, and just kind of like, I don't know, just like thinking out loud and just kind of like rambling about this. And if you guys think that I ramble a lot in my videos, like you should hear what actually the inside of my mind feels like, because this is like how I am all the time, is just like constantly thinking about things and like going back and forth and stuff. So I'd really like to hear what you guys think about this, like if you've had any of these same thoughts one way or the other, and like how, if you use different pronouns than the ones you were assigned, whether or not you use they them or like he him she her or any of the other gender neutral pronouns or whatever. I'd be interested to hear how you sort of went through the process of deciding what felt right and like when it felt right to ask people to do that. And I don't know, like if you had conflict about it like I do, because I haven't seen a lot of people really talking about conflict about it. It seems like most people, by the time they ask people to do it, like they've figured it out. So I don't know, I'd really like to hear about some other people's experiences, like whatever you guys have gone through or what you think about this, because I think it'd be really interesting. So leave a comment below with that, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to see more of my future content. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.